say shout out to everyone out there that's interested in learning, because I imagine if you're on YouTube watching videos, you're interested in learning or becoming inspired or sustaining inspiration. So I salute that, I stamp that, and that's what I've been about for a long time, and I encourage you to stay about that, because you might realize some cool stuff and come upon some opportunities and experiences as a consequence indirectly of the type of scholarship and inspiration that you're sustaining. That would be different than if you just went along to get along or simply went with maybe superficial entertainment. So salute to all people. But I just want to say, I want to maybe give myself a pat on the back for doing another outdoor video, because I would have to say outdoor videos are the dopest, because whatever you're saying, you're being stamped by the elements if it rings true while you're outside. But I wanted to say, I did another video saying that I think a lot of the savagery in life is made. I think so. Most things have are dual nature. Our human body is dual. We have two brains, two nostrils, two eyes, on and so forth. And then the parts of us that are singular can be easily seamed in two. That was expressed by the great scholar Arthur Avalon, also known as Sir John Woodruff, an actual knight and scholar, who studied under a lot of great masters in India. And the greater of those masters would be masters of themselves, not masters of others, because there is no mastery of anything outside of mastery of ourselves. And when we recognize that, we can be more humane and equitable. But what I want to say is that, and I also want to cite another portrayal of a master in this video that's along the lines of what I'm trying to convey. But we are yet dual in most things, and I think that a lot of our fundamental difficulty in life is that we may have once been food sources to each other, because you think about how hungry you are in nature, and a human food source is as viable as anything else when you're that hungry and you haven't been taught civilized manners and so forth. But you would need a check on that. So a lot of our identity, our group identity, group politics, being equally as vicious as our appetites for one another, but actually maybe more so vicious, and that's what actually is vicious enough to check our actual hunger. So I want to say that a lot of our savagery might come from the fact that we simply recognize each other as food sources on an innate on a primal level, and we yet actually engage each other as food sources to this day, in more sophisticated ways, whether it's a debtor, a user, advertiser, a marketer, and a so-called educational opportunity, on and so forth, to a very criminal. So you can have it as you like it. You can have it above board with slick talking people that have a lot of laws they made up to substantiate themselves, that get over on you and get your basic, your even deeper than your blood, your meat, your marrow. No, they want not even your sexual potence. They just want your life force, or even the story of your death. They want you. They want you. They can have that above ground, or you can have that below ground with the criminal element, or maybe a mixture of both, which would be like a shadow type realm. There's a author named Mickey Royal, who actually explains the way that a lot of terms you hear, like pimp, player, mac, hustler, so forth, we use these words very we use them very superficially, but we don't actually know what they refer to, both in terms of etymology, as Tariq Nasheed would say, but also etymology would be the formal way that words exist, but then the slang vernacular is a connotative. The etymology denotes the metaphor connotes, and actually the connote is the engine of language. And so a lot of these connotative terms like hustler, mac, player, pimp, whatnot, some of them may be somewhat denotative but also connotative. And Mickey Royal explains a way that a lot of them actually exist. And when you can understand the words you can understand people a little bit deeper. He's from like a street background in Los Angeles, where a lot of things come from, a lot of culture comes from, not all, but a lot of it. And so he also explains the difference between the underworld, the shadow world, and then what's above board. And none of those are probably more or less ruthless than the other. They just simply exist differently. But so you have all these things that yet check our propensity. But what I meant to say is that our real dilemma in life is that we are yet food sources to each other in modern terms, but probably in times past. And that's a perpetual contention between humans. But then what checks that, but is equally as contentious, is our identity, our group identity, but also our self-identity. So that we have as much of a problem with other people's identity as we do with ourselves. Those are not different. We have a problem with our identity and with other people's identity. And that's yet a check but also so it's a lubricant for cooperation, but it's also a check against cooperation, amounting to internecine infighting, which breaks down and shifts all human groups, whether one-on-one or a billion people or 7 billion people or all people. There's about to be infighting in any type of group, even with yourself. So you can say a group of any kind, a billion people, 2 people, or 1 person, there's going to be infighting, and within that infighting in 1 person is as daunting and challenging as our contention with other people, but it amounts to our idea of ourselves. It's a problem. We engage like when you whip a horse, you have a certain dynamic with that horse. That horse, its effort is chastened by our relationship to that horse, but it's also with ourselves, is that we chasten our own abilities for better or worse according to our identity. So a lot of what we're capable of is a function of our identity, but yet our identity is a problem. There's a beautiful, this is about to cut out, but there's a beautiful line in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where the master is courting a disciple, and he said that he simply doesn't exist. He said his name is Mu Bai, the great Mu Bai, the understudy of Southern Crane, who was slain before the movie commenced. But I think he actually may appear in that video, that the spirit of him may appear in there if you're wise enough to catch Southern Crane and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. But Mu Bai said, Mu Bai doesn't exist. There's no such thing as Mu Bai. And if you can have that attitude about yourself, all people's problem with us is not us, but they have a problem with our understanding of ourselves. When you look in, so you can be anything you want to be if you don't look in the mirror. But you look in the mirror and they say that fool thinks he's this and that because you had looked in the mirror. So all I meant to say is that if you appreciate that you really may not exist, that can ease up a lot of the dilemma that we have with ourselves, that other people have with us, and that we have with other people, and that other people have with themselves. We don't exist. There's nothing that can be called existent. People that say about existential that's a beautiful word, existential. I used to mess around with being a space cadet when I was young, and it got uncomfortable sometimes until I met an intellectual who conveyed that maybe the difference between me and other people who are comfortable with themselves is where they're at existentially, how they understand their existence, how they understand existence and their own existence, and the dynamic between that. And I think that helped me to become sober and confident and manage my own mind, because just like we have to manage a horse or manage our effort with our identity, we also have to manage our own mind. And one could say that maybe a lot of our success and failure is how we manage our mind. And then as a function of that is our communication, and then most of our life is around our communication. But then finer is our managing of our thought, and then deeper is our sense of identity, and then deeper is the fact that we may not exist in the first place, and we're more of a process or an experience than an actual existent. So maybe the deepest part of existentialism is that there is no existentialism, and that it's whatever it want to be or whatever it can be for now, because nothing's going to last. Even as I open my mouth to say that, a lot of water has flown down the river. So I just want to say, peace, man. We don't exist, man. This not to say that this isn't real, but that's actually what makes it more so real, is that it's just undefined. And so if you were to take a nice brisk walk, I like to walk without my glasses, because I think you actually see better with blurry vision. That's actually maybe a deeper form of vision, where you can things actually kind of look beautiful taking your glasses off after wearing them for a long time. But if you can appreciate yourself, if you can relinquish your idea of yourself. I've relinquished my idea of my own age, because I think that this universe is one, so you can't say that there's any difference in age between anything that exists. There is difference within position in different dynamic cycles. So we are yet within different cycles, and we are checked and mitigated and also sustained by our position within unique cycles. And so those cycles, both within ourselves and within others, must be recognized, obliged, and honored. However, the linear idea of age as it's handed down to us, I think that's a function of feudalism. It's based upon a arbitrary notion that someone was once so cool that all of space and time exists around their coolness, and they're actually so cool that they're actually so humble, and so we have to bow down to how humble they are. And so it's just kind of crazy. But they're saying that the earth yet goes around in a circle, but we're to understand our idea of of existing as a linear progression. And I think we are limited by that. Our understanding of ourself, and therefore our mind, and therefore our communication, and therefore our life circumstances are limited, are mitigated by our understanding of ourself upon arbitrary linear time. But if you were to just relinquish the fact that we may not exist as we think we do, and nor does what we appreciate as time, rhythm, exists across predefined terms, we can have more of a free experience of ourselves. And so just to really say that nothing about you has to be anything, and therefore that's a much easier way to say that I don't, what is speaking and referring to itself as I does not exist according to the terms that other people think it to think itself to exist, nor that it thinks itself to exist, nor that it thinks others to exist, but is really spontaneous, dynamic, and free to be anything and nothing at once, without, within, before, now, henceforth, beyond, as nothing is real or different about any of those sounds that I just made out of my mouth, and this is really free, and so that can really, I think, give us a transcendence of that fundamental dilemma, because we have a dilemma with all people, not the least of which ourselves, and it probably stems from the fact that we are yet in competition, and also we are protected, and we receive privileges according to our understanding of our identity, and other people's understanding of our identity, and our understanding of other people's understanding of our identity, and a lot of that is limited and arbitrary in the first place. But if we can just say, like Mu Bai in the film Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, that there's no such thing as Mu Bai, that's the coldest thing right there, and you get a little bit like being wind. I had this friend growing up who was developing player moves when we were young. He was always trying to break my balls and break my and he was trying to copy my swagger and break my balls at the same time. But we watched this movie about these two men. I think it's called Daggers Out or something. It's like another great martial arts film. But one man was equating. He was feeling as the wind and existing as the wind, and he was that cool and dynamic. And the other one he was colder because he was actually like a triple agent, like a triple quadruple agent, and he was actually down for the righteous cause. He was down for the rebels, and he was yet the most chaste and proper. He was the most chaste and proper government agent while working as a deep cover rebel, but yet he was still somewhat arbitrary in that he had a notion of right and wrong, and that he's yet being slicker than slick, but he yet has a preconceived understanding of what things will amount to, and it amounted to him thinking that he was entitled to a woman's love who he had fought for and went undercover for and supported. Yet the other person was more of her actual antagonist and was really more so down with the status quo, get down, but he was yet somehow free and equated to win. And my friend fancied that and he fancied that, but he was actually cold for fancying that, because that's cold to be like the wind like that. And I just want to say that that's yet a similarity maybe between two great martial arts films is Mu Bai, to say that there's no such thing as Mu Bai, and also this other person in Daggers Out, he wore a lot of purple in that movie, and he was cool for that, and he was also like being like the wind, and he near about swept a woman off her feet, being like the wind like that. So I'm saying we can be like that too, not only in our understanding of ourselves, but also our understanding of our own development, is that we don't have to put on these adult pretensions and airs, like, okay, I'm at the grocery store, so I'm a grown man because I went to this little bogus job in this little bogus reality where people have been doing wrong for hundreds of years, and we have all kinds of capital that's built upon nepotism and slavery and colonialism and whatnot, but I'm somehow getting a piece of this bogus, treacherous pie, and I'm putting on adult pretensions and airs, and I'm at a grocery store, and I'm very important, and I'm all grown up, but in a lot of senses we're still yet dumbasses and children. Even the best we'll ever amount to be is probably childlike. The Order of Osho said that we are not to be that we're not suited to be, we're not strong, we are not it's not in our strong suit to be childish, but to be childlike might be actually the highest form of maturity. And you can yet attain that and experience that and enjoy that so far as you will, as you dispense with these pretensions that are handed to you. Your age is handed to you. Your idea of your self-concept more or less is handed to you. Not disrespecting the things you've been through to learn and have skills that you do, but a lot of our sense of ourself is handed to us, and it doesn't work in our favor. And the more of it that we can relinquish, the more free we can be, the more true we can be, the more happy we can be, the more effective we can be, and the more we can piss people off. Talk like I am. Talk about how you're not limited by a linear sense of time, and you're about to piss people off. The more pretentious they are, the more they're going to get pissed off with something like that, and it actually means you're hitting for something, and you're becoming like the wind. Let's be like the wind, and let's frustrate these fancy outfits that people got on in their fancy hats in the middle of March, where they're so cool and proper and elegant, and they don't know what to do about some free wind that's about them. Peace.